Love them or hate them, there are around 1.4 billion cars on the world's roads, and although they're safer and more efficient than ever, it doesn't stop designers dreaming. Here's our top 10 strangest cars that have graced our planet's roads over history. Peel P50. Based on the Isle of Man just off the coast of England, Peel focused its intentions on building fiberglass boats, but at the height of its production it dabbled in other games too. The Peel P50 was built for 3 years between 1962 and 1965 on the island and was priced at £199. That's about $8,500 in today's money. Its very basic design featured 3 wheels, a single windscreen wiper and just one headlight. Power came from a 49cc 4-horsepower engine paired to a 3-speed manual transmission, allowing it to reach up to 37 miles per hour. And although it didn't have a reverse gear, it could be turned using a handle on the back of the vehicle. It weighs less than an average adult at just 59 kilograms, while the company claims it's the perfect fit for one adult and a bag of shopping. In 2010, it was listed as the world's smallest production car in the Guinness Book of World Records. 2011 saw 2 businessmen appear on British entrepreneurship show Dragon's Den, asking for £80,000 to revive the brand. A successful bid saw them electrify the model, where they now sell a petrol and an electric replica of the original car for around £15,000 or roughly $19,000. The P50 was also driven through a set of offices by ex-Top Gear presenter Jeremy Clarkson, who was showcasing its small size. Mercedes G63 6x6. From one end of the scale to the other, we're all familiar with the classic G-Class. The boxy design has remained unchanged for years, but a limited run of 100 special G-Classes hit production in 2014. Based on the G63, it's powered by a 544 horsepower 5.5-litre twin-turbo V8, and it puts its power down through 6 wheels. 4x4 has nothing on this beast. If anything, buying one makes a cool investment. One example, purchased for $531,000 in Dubai, was recently spotted for sale in the US for a whopping $1.69 million. Up front, the slightly modified G-Wagon looks familiar and even has a full-sized rear passenger compartment. Beyond that, an extra set of windows breaks off into a pickup-style loading bay which rests on 4 of the 6 wheels. At 2.3 meters tall, it's taller than most people, while the 5.9 meter length surely makes it a beast to maneuver. The weight? 3.85 tons. But this won't affect its off-road ability, as an onboard tyre pressure control system allows the driver to vary the tyre pressure from 0.5 to 1.8 bar, perfect for a range of terrains, including sand dunes. Tough luck if you live in Britain, though. Only 15 right-hand drive examples were produced, all of which tuned by Brabus at a price of around $800,000 when new. The American Dream. We've all heard the story. Flocks of migrants heading towards the US in search of the American Dream. Their goal? Success and fortune as a result of hard graft, risk-taking and sacrifices. Well, let's hope they didn't read the ad wrong, because there's another American dream roaming the roads. Californian car customizer Jay Orberg took a 1970s Cadillac Eldorado and began work in the late 1980s to make it into the world's longest limo. The super stretch limo now rests on 13 pairs of wheels, measures 100 foot in length, and is even hinged in the middle, whilst inside you'll find any luxurious environment you could imagine. A helipad on the back deck serves as a double-purpose pool. A diving board and jacuzzi make up the aquatic amenities, while inside, a king-size waterbed makes for a comfy resting space. The lace-lined living area has enough seats for any potential owner and their friends. For some years, it was leased to a company as a promotional vehicle, but when the deal fell through, it went into hibernation in a New Jersey warehouse. 2012 saw it emerge from hibernation in what was described as a very bad state. But in 2014, the New York's Automotive Teaching Museum took ownership of it to teach students just how far they could go when customizing and designing vehicles. We're not sure where it is today, but one report says that Orberg's work has retired to a parking lot where it will probably rust away to a sad carcass one day. Fiat Panda monster truck. When we think of off-roading, our minds often direct to big Land Cruisers and Land Rovers, but Fiat has been fitting its Panda with four-wheel drive for quite some years now. In favour of advertising their latest model back in 2012, Fiat went the extra mile with the Panda 4x4, sitting it on a monster truck platform. Parts borrowed from sister company Jeep help accommodate for the supersized tyres, which measure 59 inches in diameter and 20 inches in width. Designed to be fitted to tractors, they definitely give the TV ad-ready Panda some off-road clout. Of course, this isn't a road-going car, it's more of a joke. It's powered by a 1980s 4.2-litre straight-six Jeep engine. After all, the tyres alone weigh some 800 kilograms, almost as much as the road-going version of the Panda. British driving and entertainment show Top Gear got behind the wheel of this one-off monster truck, describing the way it moved as having sort of mechanical arthritis, and that's after doing airborne splits to get into it in the first place. I guess we won't be seeing any of these roaming the roads anytime soon, eh? Amphicar Model 770. Taking inspiration from our planet's curious amphibians, designer Hans Trippel had one goal in mind. It was to allow the car to enter new territories, the waters. Produced from 1960 to 1965, 3,878 Amphicars were built. This, the Model 770, was powered by a 43-horsepower 1.2-litre straight-four engine borrowed from Triumph, mated to a 4-speed manual gearbox, and is a loose descendant of the Volkswagen Type 166 Schwimmwagen. This one-ton, rear-engined, rear-wheel drive aquatic car donned navigational lights and a flag following the US Coast Guard's requirements. But owning one of these wasn't all it was cracked up to be. On the rare occasion that its owners would take it for a swim, it required greasing at 13 different points around the car, one of which involved the removal of the rear seat, so not really a machine for skipping the queues on a bridge. Its name, the Model 770, comes from its top speeds, 7 knots in the water and 70 miles per hour on land, although this was slightly increased with a later addition of a 75-horsepower 1.5-litre engine. Want to see one for real? As of 2015, Florida's Walt Disney World began to offer rides in the Amphicar, costing $125 per group of 3 people. They say they have some of the only remaining 400 remaining vehicles. Rinspeed sQuba. What's that? The Amphicar doesn't float your boat. Want to dive a little deeper? Dreamt of by Swiss company Rinspeed, the sQuba can do just that. Conceptualized in 2008, this front-engined, rear-wheel drive, heavily modified Lotus Elise runs off just electric. One electric motor provides the power for land driving, while another 2 give it underwater propulsion. They say the car floats upon entering water, and it's not until the driver decides to submerge the car that it can dive to a depth of 10 meters. But let us not forget, water, especially seawater, is much more dense than the air we're more accustomed to driving through. Although it can reach 75 miles per hour on land, this is drastically reduced to less than 4 miles per hour when driven as a boat, and 2 miles per hour as a submarine. You may look at the sQuba and wonder how anyone could drive it underwater. It's an open top. That's where the integrated oxygen tank comes into play. Occupants link regulators up to this system, which essentially becomes a scuba diving apparatus. The prototype costs $1.5 million, although production prices were expected to drop the cost to less than a Rolls-Royce. We can't find any evidence of production models entering production, making this a truly one-of-a-kind aquatic car. Upside-down car. On the subject of one-off vehicles, Rick Sullivan decided to build his own. 6 months and a lot of hard work and just $6,000 saw the emergence of his upside-down car. And yes, it's road legal. Built from a 1991 Ford Ranger and a 1995 Ford F-150, it's designed to look like a pickup that's been picked up and placed back down on its roof. Its personalized license plate reads "Flip Over." The husband and wife team run a collision center in Illinois, which inspired the creation of this car. The idea came from a time when he was asked to transport a flipped Ford Ranger to his repair studio. It's so eye-catching that Sullivan estimates up to 1,000 photos of it are taken on any given day he's behind the wheel. The car houses just 2 seats and is stylized as a drop-top. His wife said in one interview that his mind is always thinking about what the next project is going to be. After all, there was no blueprint or concrete design for the upside-down car, just constant additions of salvaged car parts. Oeuf électrique. Parisian-born Paul Arzenz was somewhat of an experienced engineer, but the constraints of World War II heavily impacted his design. Thus, the aptly named Oeuf électrique, or electric egg, made use of some pretty industrial materials. The egg-shaped body relied heavily upon aluminium, while plexiglass added some all-important visibility. Inside the 3-wheeled egg was a wicker framed bench seat, enough room really for just the driver. Empty, the car would weigh 350 kilograms and operated solely with batteries. Without these batteries, the weight reduced down to just 90 kilos. Yes, an electric car before the age of Tesla. Sadly, just the one prototype was made, although he did keep it in his possession and even took it for the occasional run. Post-World War II, Arzenz turned his attention to delivering locomotives for the French National Railway Company, while the egg found refuge at the Cité de l'Automobile Museum. General Motors Firebird 1. From egg-shaped to plane-shaped, we've landed with General Motors and its Firebird family. The first generation, the Firebird 1, also known as the XP21, is the most dramatically styled of them all. Said to be essentially a jet airplane on wheels, it was actually the first ever car tested in the US to be gas turbine powered. The Whirlfire turbo-powered gas turbine produced 370 horsepower, A lot for a road car by today's standard, let alone in 1953 when it first came about. Maybe best not to be driven on public highways though, with exhaust fumes reaching almost 700 degrees Celsius. Of course, imitating the shape of a plane has its downsides. When Conklin, the first person qualified to drive the car, reached speeds of around 100 miles per hour, the tyres began to lose traction. He slowed down for fear of something worse happening. Technically able to reach some impressive speeds, estimated to be around 200 miles per hour, the brake discs sat on the outside of the wheels for better air cooling, and the fake wings weren't so fake after all. They featured flaps, just like a real plane, to aid with quick braking. Lego Bugatti Chiron. And to top off our list of the top 10 strangest cars, we have the Lego Bugatti Chiron. On a mission to prove its statement that you build for real true, Lego went ahead and built a 1:1 life-size scale Bugatti Chiron. This followed designer Aurélien Rouffionge's success in constructing a 1:8 scaled version of the car. The company says 16 specialists worked on the build, which took over 13,000 man-hours. The car was built in a Czech Lego facility. The stats? Over 1 million Lego Technic elements, 339 types of elements, 0 glue, 1,500 kilograms total weight, fully functioning rear spoiler and speedometer made entirely of Lego elements. But why the need for this, I hear you ask? A fully functioning Lego engine? Yes, Lego engine made of 2,304 motors, 4,032 gear wheels, and 2,016 cross axles means the Lego Bugatti Chiron is actually drivable. It only produces 5.3 horsepower and 92 Nm of torque, but the company managed to convince Bugatti's official test driver and former Le Mans winner Andy Wallace to take it for its inaugural ride. The real Chiron in top form produces some 1,600 horsepower from an 8-litre quad-turbocharged W16 engine. What did you think of these 10 strange cars? Regardless of how or even whether they entered production, it's true to say that they have all taken an interesting spin on the automotive industry and have taken influence from as well as influenced other cars. Which one would you like to see in real life?